Well, and good afternoon. It is really great to be with you today and to really be able to discuss such a wonderful topic about women as our most valuable but yet underdeveloped natural resource. And it's really a pleasure to be part of this. It's wonderful to have women in our natural resources fields here too. And Janet, wherever you are here, thank you so much. That was fantastic comments, heartfelt, and just really down to earth and practical too, and so thank you. And I also just want to say thank you to Senator Liesl McGuire and her leadership for convening this conference and for commissioning the study in the first place. So thank you so much, Liesl. As I was thinking about what I wanted to say today and this gathering of women here, I really think about those who have forged the path before us, whether they crossed the land bridge from Siberia thousands of years ago, if they came over the Chilkoot Pass during the gold rush, or arrived here as teachers or nurses before statehood. Alaska was and is still a demanding land, isn't it? Back in the gold rush, journalist Annie Hall wrote in the Skagway News some advice for northbound women. Those who love luxury, comfort, and ease, she wrote, would better remain at home. And she continued, first and most important of all by far is a selection of proper footwear. And girls, isn't that still true? Many did head north, sensible shoes and all, and they broke trail for those who followed. Women like Bertha Bloomer Johnson, a name you might not recognize. In fact, I heard of her story just last month. She's the mom of a good friend of mine. Educated at Johns Hopkins University, Bertha served as a midwife for poor women of Appalachia before being contacted by the Territory of Alaska to help improve infant mortality in the north. She talked a girlfriend into driving up the Alcan in a Jeep Willie, the first year the Alcan was opened, in the middle of winter. Bertha worked all over the state, places like Kotzebue, Nome, Unalakleet, Savunga, and Naknek. She authored illustrated manuals for the proper care of laboring mothers and their babies and taught other women how to midwife. And today she is 92 years old and retired in Sitka. Wonderful lady. And then there are role models that we do know very well. Elizabeth Peratrovich being one. Working tirelessly for Alaska Native equality, she spoke to the Alaska Senate in 1945 in support of an anti-discrimination bill. And she said, "No law will eliminate crimes, but at least you as legislators can assert to the world that you recognize the evil of the present situation and speak your intent to help us overcome discrimination." Powerful words still today. And since we're on the theme of women as a valuable Alaska resource, back when the pipeline was being constructed, women helped to build it. It said that up to 10%, small but still a part, of the pipeline workforce was female. And some of you may have worked on the project as engineers, as welders, as oilers, X-ray technicians, or drivers. Yes, women helped build the pipeline, but now we have women running the oil company. We are becoming more vertically integrated throughout business, Alaska Native corporations, tribal organizations, government, and nonprofits. There is good news. In fact, half of the governor's top executive team are women, half. And women lead the departments of Fish and Game, Administration, Labor, Commerce, and Revenue. That's the most women in the cabinet in Alaska's history. And we're happy to have some of those commissioners taking part in this summit, and Commissioner Bloomer will be leading a panel later. Wonderful. We can still go further in that area, though, right? In addition, we have a history of strong female leadership in the legislature, including several here today. Alaska women are better educated now than at any time in history, too. The University of Alaska graduating class of 2013, 62% women. And I think it's probably close for APU as well. Wonderful statistic, but in a way, a little disturbing because we do want our men to do well, but 62% women. Women lead and women contribute to Alaska every single day in the world of work, as volunteers, and as the heart of our homes. And as women, we offer gifts vital to this world. We are strong, creative, wise, collaborative, life givers, sustainers, resourceful, and resilient. We are in the land of opportunity, with a solid economic foundation and state initiatives promoting jobs and strong families. So here's the paradox. While women are making great strides in our great land, many more struggle, their potential unrealized. And why? Why is it that our women often are our most valuable, yet underdeveloped natural resource? It's complex, and I'm so glad that we're all gathered here in these 2 days to really discuss the problem. And there are many contributing factors that will be discussed. And for my part, I want to speak of a particular area of devastating impact in the lives of women and girls. I think you know what it is. It's domestic violence, sexual assault, and child sexual abuse. I believe these are the greatest barriers to Alaska women achieving their potential. You may have seen the recent Mat-Su Regional Victimization Survey. In more than 1,000 interviews, over 50% of the women in the Mat-Su have experienced intimate partner violence or sexual violence in their lifetime. This survey has been conducted throughout the state, and the results are always consistent and disturbing. We have an epidemic on our hands, when we're talking over 50%. The ramifications are devastating to the individuals, to families, and collectively to the entire state in lost productivity, in our prisons, and in our schools, as children are stymied from learning because they are in constant crisis. Our domestic violence shelters are full, with women and children seeking an escape from the violence and abuse. They are a refugee of war on body and spirit. I recently visited Highland Correctional Center, the prison for women, where a mental health worker pulled me aside and told me that the vast majority of women inmates had been sexually abused in their lifetime. Last year, I met and corresponded with 4 beautiful girls from McLaughlin Youth Center. All 4 were victimized or were exposed to violence in their home as a child, and one was even sold for sex by a member of her own family. We know abused children are at much greater risk of becoming victims of sex trafficking and domestic violence. And until the cycle is broken, the pattern of abuse continues, destroying families and communities. And that is why the Choose Respect initiative to end this epidemic is so important and is one of the Parnell administration's highest priorities. Choose Respect can be broken down into 3 areas: prevention, law enforcement, criminal justice, and support and healing for victims and survivors. And let's start with the last one, support and healing. Getting women into safe housing is very important in helping them heal and gain their confidence to move forward. In addition to increased funding for shelters, legal advocacy, and forensic exams, there's been more training on trauma-informed care. And there's been added support for important programs, such as the Wellness Warriors Initiative at South Central Foundation, a fantastic program. Affordable housing is a major concern, and I know will be discussed here today, or in the next 2 days. The Alaska Housing Finance Corporation has public housing or rental assistance for specific populations, and one of them is the Empowering Choice Housing Program. It's a partnership with the Council on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault and the Alaska Network on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault. And it provides rent assistance for immediate help to those who are displaced because of domestic violence. Law enforcement. The administration and the legislature have worked together to fund more public village safety officers so that every village that wants to have one can have one. Now, instead of fewer than 50 VPSOs, we have 100, and more troopers to back up these first responders. And statistics show that when there's a presence of law enforcement in town, crime goes down. Legislation is also aimed at greater protection for victims and greater consequences for abusers. New laws crack down on child pornographers, sex traffickers, and their johns who participate in what we know as modern-day slavery. Laws are now also in place preventing stalking and abuse of our elders and other vulnerable adults. But the most important element by far is prevention. And many projects focus on community engagement, such as Coaching Boys into Men, Girls on the Run, Green Dot, and the Fourth R. And any of these things you want to know more of, you can find out more at the Choose Respect booth. For the initiative, the governor hired a coordinator in his office, Katie Tipas, who's sitting at the back of the room. Katie keeps... I think you may know her as the Energizer Bunny. She is all over the state, everywhere, with tremendous energy. Katie keeps it front and center so that the Choose Respect initiative remains a priority and at the highest level. Word has gotten out across Alaska. When we first started Choose Respect marches, 18 communities participated. And now over 150 communities stand strong together in solidarity. Never underestimate the power of speaking together with one voice, that we will not tolerate violence, that we will choose dignity and respect. This is how we change our culture. And this is how we help individuals know that it's okay to seek help, that it is not their fault. To everyone who has participated in Choose Respect event, thank you for adding your voice and your leadership. And to everyone here who has been working to end this epidemic, and many of you have been, sometimes for years, protecting, sheltering, and advocating, thank you. And to victims and survivors, you are not alone. The shame is not yours and it's not your fault. Help is available, and resources and helpful Alaskans are at the Choose Respect booth. I want to speak a bit about collaboration. And while some initiatives and policies that help women and Alaskans in general initiate within the departments, many more are spearheaded by nonprofits, philanthropy, business, the faith community, the federal government, and others, collaborative efforts. Partnership between government and the private sector is crucial, especially as our budgets tighten. We want funding to be targeted and effective. And this is best done when we can build on each other's strengths. Though there are several examples of this kind of collaboration, actually many, and initially I had a laundry list full, but I didn't want to bore you or myself, eyes glaze over with a laundry list, so I chose 3 that are especially meaningful to me. The first is Covenant House. How many of you have been to the new Youth Engagement Center? It is a beautiful place, both physically and in its mission. It is really a testament to the leadership of Covenant House Alaska and the collaborative support of the community and state. Now Covenant House is able to offer our at-risk kids a full spectrum of care that enables them to fulfill their dreams of education, employment, and a safe place of their own to call home. In this amazing place, kids truly feel cared about by the community, and that in itself goes a long way toward healing. If you haven't been by there, you've got to go by and see it. It is truly a testament to the collaborative support of this community. It's beautiful. Best Beginnings is a family-focused collaboration. It's a public-private partnership that promotes early childhood development from birth to age 5, with a mission to ensure all Alaska children begin school ready to succeed. One of the main programs is the Imagination Library. 40% of our Alaskan children, and that's a high percentage, I think second highest in the nation, in 100 communities receive a book of their very own every month in the mail, free of charge. This simple gift is having an amazing impact in the lives of children and their families. Nationwide surveys and independent reports show that Imagination Library dramatically increases early childhood literacy. And I have witnessed this result myself. Last week, I was at an elementary school reading Otis, which is a really cute children's book about a spunky tractor, to a class of kindergartners. And come to find out, though the book was new to me, it was an old favorite to most of them. And that's because it was one of the books they had received in the mail. Later, the teacher told me that this was the most engaged class she'd ever had, ready to read and ready to learn, and she feels it largely due to the Imagination Library because of the number of kids that had been signed up. Another great benefit is just the joy and the bond created by families reading together. I love that program. So here's a plug, sign up your kids and grandkids today. And a final collaboration I want to highlight is prisoner reentry. We know the estimates in the victimization survey are conservative. An even higher percentage of women in our prison systems have suffered abuse. This is the stark reality of the cycle of violence. But even in prison, the chain of abuse can be broken and lives healed for those that will choose it. The Department of Corrections and Labor and Workforce Development collaborate with partners to help women reenter society. The Reentry Task Force focuses on employment, substance abuse, housing, and other issues that inmates struggle with as they transition back into the community. Corrections also works with several area nonprofits, including the Alaska Native Justice Center, Nine Star, Partners for Progress, and New Life Development. These groups and others make it their heartfelt mission to help women reenter. One great program is the annual Success Inside and Out Conference that's coming up next week. Presenters and mentors from the community gather at Highland Mountain to give inmates life skills and practical help for employment, safe housing, maintaining healthy relationships, staying drug and alcohol free, and others. One of the more popular features is a fashion show, a kind of what to wear and what not to wear to job interviews. In visiting both Palmer Correctional Center for Men and Highland Mountain for Women, I have seen the positive programming and the training opportunities helping prisoners get their lives turned around so that they can reenter community. And I'm so thankful for the hundreds of volunteers that really engage in this work. I'm so proud of Alaskans for what they do for those that are struggling. 95% of our prisoners will eventually be released, and we all have a vested interest in helping them succeed. Before closing, I just want to mention another amazing Alaska woman. You may not have heard of Pearl Laska Chamberlain. She was a pioneer aviator from Fairbanks who held a pilot certificate even at the age of 97. Pearl died just 1 year ago at 103. She was a school teacher in Fairbanks and Homer, a Pentagon cryptologist, a known bush pilot, and the first woman to solo a single-engine airplane up the Alaska Highway. During World War II, she taught African American men to fly for the civilian training program. Every one of them earned his wings. She also taught Alaska Natives to fly, including one who became the first Native hired as a pilot by a scheduled airline. Pearl wasn't a lawmaker. She didn't lead a corporation, but she had an extraordinary life. For the wonderfully strong women who went before us, like Bertha Johnson, the midwife, Pearl Chamberlain, the bush pilot, and Elizabeth Peratrovich, the civil rights leader, we owe it to them and to ourselves and to our daughters to achieve our potential. And I ask you and me, all of us gathered here today, that we reach out our hands and help those along in the journey behind us as they find their path. And together, we will help our Alaskan women achieve their potential. Thank you very much.